with the umbilical cord. And the umbilical cord is attached to the fetus, and it's basically the lifeline between mom and baby. So nutrients, water, oxygen can get to baby so baby can grow and, you know, be ready to be born. So that's what our little cord blood looks like, with the vein running through it. So after you give birth, your doctor or midwife will go ahead and collect the blood out of the cord and then take the cord tissue out whole. So that's just a little visual for you guys of placenta and umbilical cord. And within this blood, there are two different types of stem cells. The first type of stem cell is found in the cord blood, and it turns into different types of immune cells, blood cells. It's used to treat various cancers, metabolic disorders. You know, there's a whole list of FDA-approved treatments that use the cord blood. Go over. And then with the cord tissue, that's used to treat various regenerative medicine applications right now. So I'm here on the next slide. I kind of jumped ahead of myself a little bit. We're still trying to figure this thing out. So the stem cells are the master cells of the body. They can become anything, and they are found in, as you can see, the sources of the different stem cells. Today, mainly the transplants are used from donated or privately stored umbilical cord blood units, cord tissue units. So here is.
When I was born, my doctor collected my stem cells. Today I want to visit the home where they live. I want to see where my stem cells live. I didn't really know what stem cells were. Because they grew on flowers, trees. But I learned they were actually really special and important. Stem cells are like Legos. I learned that they're kind of like Legos, but inside my body. And inside yours too. They're like building blocks that can build on each other to make different parts of me. First, I saw the lab. Whoa. There, some people with white coats run a bunch of tests, and they get the stem cells ready for their long nap. Then they send them to sleep in these big metal containers called doors. They're huge, and the stem cells stay safe and because they're really cold. Oh my God! I mean, really cold. Super duper cold, like 3 times colder than the South Pole. It was fun and cool to learn about where my stem cells live and why they're so important to protect. Stem cells that live here help other family too. Isn't that cool? Now I'm excited to see what the Legos of my body will be able to build one day.
All right, so that was just a little tour of our lab and some of our families that have banked with us that got to go visit where their stem cells were stored. So this next slide just kind of talks about how they work pretty simply. The newborn stem cells, something that's not on here to point out is that they are pristine, and unlike our stem cells as adults that have been exposed to the environment, the newborn stem cells are obviously brand new. So it is believed that they will work a little bit better than our mature stem cells. So I mentioned this before, the difference between the different type of stem cells found within the cord blood and the cord tissue. So cord blood is from the inside of the umbilical cord, and the cord tissue is actually a 4 to 8 inch piece of the umbilical cord. And they are used in different ways, as I mentioned. As of today, there have there have been more than 40,000 transplants done with the cord blood units. Cord tissue is mainly in clinical, well, it is in clinical trials, so there are no approved uses. But with the advances of the cord blood stem cells, we do believe that there will be a lot of applications going forward. All right, Chrissy.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about some different options that you have. So basically, to preserve newborn stem cells, there's two different options. There's public donation and there's family banking. Unfortunately, if you don't choose either of these options, your cord blood and your baby's cord blood and cord tissue will just be discarded with the medical waste, and that happens far too often. So, you know, we really would hope that one of these options would be chosen. So with public donation, a couple things to think about with public donation is that it is free to donate, but you have to be delivering at a hospital that does participate in a program with a public bank. Currently, none of the hospitals in this area have that relationship. There was some in the past that did have the relationship, but unfortunately no longer do. One of the big stem cell banks, public banks in New York, is actually going to be closing, so that cut off some of that relationship. There is a way to do it on your own, and this is something that you do have to have set up a little bit earlier in pregnancy. So about 28 weeks, I believe, is the cutoff, where you would have to get in touch with them, fill out some paperwork, and get it all set up. So the benefit with public donation is that it does help increase the national supply of cord blood stem cell samples that are available if someone were to need a match. Though this is, in this case, if it is donated, a lot of times your family most likely won't have access. If your baby or a sibling of your baby does need stem cells in the future, they most likely won't be available. And one of the reasons for this is that less than 25% of the samples that are donated actually end up in storage in these public banks. A lot of this is because they require a very large volume of blood, so far more blood than you would need with family banking. And if you do any sort of delayed cord clamping, which is usually recommended at least 30 to 60 seconds, usually you can't get these very large volumes that the public banks require. They also like to vary the HLA matches, which is the markers that are in your cord blood that would determine if they would be matches for each other. So they like to vary those. So there's a couple different factors that go into whether they would actually be stored or not. So in 75% of cases or more, it actually won't end up in there for storage. So it's just something to think about. If you did find a match in a public bank, it would also cost an average of about $36,000 to retrieve that cord blood unit. So like I said, this is a good option. If you'd like to learn more about it, you can go to Parent's Guide to Cord Blood Banking, but there are just a few things that I mentioned that you want to keep in mind. So with family banking, the benefit of family banking is that your family will have exclusive access to these stem cells if they were to need them in the future. So you would, for that baby, or if it was for a sibling or a parent, or even down the road, if a child or grandchild of that baby were to need those stem cells, they would be available for use. This does come with a cost because public donation is cost-free. There is an initial cost for processing and then a yearly storage fee for family banking. Another benefit with family banking is you can preserve both the cord blood and cord tissue that Whit talked about, so the actual segment of the umbilical cord, which has a different type of stem cell. And public banks do not take cord tissue, they only take the cord blood. So just a couple different, different options for preserving your stem cells to keep in mind. Now we'll talk a little bit about why CBR. So CBR is a family bank. So we talked about options for donation. That is something you would have to do separate from CBR because CBR is just a family bank. But a couple things you might want to keep in mind when looking for a family bank is, things along the lines of experience. So this is the largest stem cell bank. They've been around for the longest. We'll talk a little bit about on the next slide about how many samples they actually have. Stability, the lab and storage facility is in Tucson, Arizona, and you saw a little bit of in that video, a little bit of what the lab is like with the doers and how they, saw them processing some of the stem cells. They chose Tucson, Arizona for the lab because it is a very low risk for natural disasters. So very low risk for things like earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes. It is very safe. They have a lot of expertise as far as certified genetic counselors. So they are available for not just CBR families, but also potential families. So if anyone is interested in speaking with a genetic counselor, you can always call in and request that. And that way you can talk through any kind of family history or other concerns that you may have to determine whether family banking is right for you. They also perform over 500,000 sample and equipment checks and over 80,000 environmental and sample sterility tests per year. So they are always checking on the quality. They also have a family health registry, which is a way that they keep the CBR families informed of any upcoming clinical trials that these families could potentially benefit from. And then as far as numbers, over 900,000 stored units with CBR. So this is more than double of any other family bank. Number of samples. We've also released more samples than any other family bank at 550. About 83% of these samples released did go into the study of regenerative medicine. So this is where children with things like autism or cerebral palsy or acquired hearing loss can actually benefit from the use of their stem cells. Even though these treatments are still in research, they still are able to use them and hopefully see the benefits of that. We've been around since 1992. You saw a little bit of the 80,000 square foot lab space. They also keep over 18,000 gallons of liquid nitrogen on site and have a backup generator, which is one of the largest available just in the rare event that there might be some sort of power outage. The lab could run for a month or two without any problems, or probably even longer. So they have a lot of backup mechanisms in place to keep your stem cells safe, so you can feel confident that they will be staying safe. So we are going to watch another video that talks a little bit more about the lab.
Oops. Sorry about that.
At CBR, progress is our daily practice. More than 20 years ago, we recognized the power and potential inside the umbilical cord born with every child, and set out to help families capture this amazing resource. Since then, we've processed and stored 500,000 stem cell collections from families all over the world. Our lab and storage facility was custom built for one purpose only: to provide the highest quality systems and technology for your family. We've invested millions of dollars to help ensure the long-term viability of your baby's stem cells. Our secure facility is supported by one of the largest backup generators available. We run sophisticated monitoring and temperature checks every 1.6 seconds. Our liquid nitrogen tank weighs as much as a 747 jet. We bought and engineered this facility to be your trusted stem cell resource for life. For nearly 3 decades, cord blood stem cells have treated dozens of life-threatening conditions in children and adults. Looking toward tomorrow for your growing family, cord blood stem cells are being examined for more breakthrough treatments. Cord blood stem cells have tremendous potential. Saving them with CBR positions your family to take advantage of groundbreaking advances that are yet to come. Invest in your family's future and save your baby's stem cells at CBR.
Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the process when you do enroll with CBR, how it actually works throughout the the delivery and afterwards. So the first step would be enrolling with CBR. If you were to enroll today, we would help you get started with that, and then you would complete the enrollment over the phone with one of our stem cell educators at the home office. They would send a kit to your house, so you don't have to leave to get a kit. You can get it sent right to your house, and then put it right in your hospital bag and get ready, and take it with you on the day of delivery. We do keep kits stored on the labor and delivery units in the area, so that way if you find yourself on labor and delivery unexpectedly without your kit and your hospital bag, which is what happened to me because my baby came 10 days early, there are kits available that you can still do your collection even if you forget your kit. So what you would do is you just let them know on admission that you plan to collect your baby's cord blood and cord tissue, give them the kit, and then they will take care of everything else. So once the baby is delivered, they will then collect that extra cord blood and take a segment of the umbilical cord, get it all set up in the kit, package it up for you, and then they will hand it to you or your partner. Most likely your partner will be in charge of it, and you'll take it with you. And once you get settled, after the baby comes, then you just call the courier, which the number is on the side of the box, and then they will come and pick it up for you. They get it to the closest airport and get it on the first flight to Tucson. So the average time from hospital to lab is 19 hours. They're very quick about getting it out there. And then they will process it and let you know once it is safely stored in the lab. So it's a pretty easy process. Once you get in, we can get you started with that if you're interested today. We're going to talk a little bit about pricing. So the prices you see here are the full prices. So what we have today is we have some special event pricing for you to help make it a little bit more affordable. And since you're able to join us for this webinar, so we are able to offer, instead of the $18.20 for cord blood and cord tissue, it will be $16.30. And this is also something that they can break down into monthly payments if you prefer, versus paying all of it at once. These prices do include the first year of storage. So after that, you would be responsible for the second year, and you can see the annual storage prices below. So $360 for both cord blood and cord tissue, $180 if you were just to store your baby's cord blood. If you were just to store cord blood, it would be $13.80 instead of that $16.75 that you see there. So like I said, there are payment plans where you can break it down into monthly payments to get it a little bit lower for you. There's also a gift registry option. So if you wanted to make that available to your friends and family to donate towards the cost, that's something you're able to do right on the CBR website. Along with this special, there is also an offer where if you choose to store cord blood and cord tissue, you will get a free ReadyGen, and Whit's going to tell you a little bit more about that because she just did this for her son.
Yeah, so we just launched ReadyGen recently, and basically it's a genetic test after baby's born, testing for over 200 diseases, whether they can be treated by stem cell therapy or by pharmaceutical therapy. So it's just an extra layer that we're offering to our families. In the event that they do need to use their own stem cells, they will have a little heads up on this. This is a $379 value that they're going to get for free just for this month if they go ahead and enroll with us.
Okay, thanks, Whit. So these prices, like she said, for the month of April. So to get these special event pricing, you do have to enroll by the end of April. So we also, to help with annual storage fees, have a CBR referral program. So this is if you have friends or family who are pregnant or planning to become pregnant, if you refer them to CBR and they end up storing their stem cells with us, you can get, for your first referral, you'll get a free cord blood storage credit. If you do two referrals, you'll get another cord blood stem cell credit along with a $100 gift card. The third referral, you'll get a $200 gift card in addition to the credit. And with the fourth and any other referrals after that, you'll get the storage credit. So this is a really great way to save on your monthly storage fees. So something to keep in mind.
All right, here's our last video.
One day, a beautiful little girl was born. Her name was Ava. All Ava wanted to do was be a ballerina. Ava didn't know it at the time, but she had a lot of hard work ahead of her. Cerebral palsy. Ava's parents took her to lots of doctors and therapists. They all wanted to help her arms and legs work better, so Ava could dance. They tried a lot of therapies, and even a procedure using Ava's own newborn stem cells. It was experimental and unproven, but they wouldn't give up on this little ballerina. We're still trying to understand if her newborn stem cells played a part, if any. But in combination with Ava's hard work and other therapies, a wonderful thing happened. Ava got better at moving her legs. Ava's parents and doctors hope that as Ava gets older,
Well, that's the end, I suppose.
Okay, well, now we're going to open up to any questions you might have. So if anyone wants to chime in with a question, we're happy to answer it. We also have some frequently asked questions here that tend to come up that we can also go through as well. Any questions?
Nope.
No? Okay. All right.
Hold on.
So,
I think, hi, sorry.
you're okay.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Sorry, there we go. Sorry, I was on my lunch making lunch.
Oh,
So my question would be, so I'm not yet a mom. So how important is it, or would it be, because I'm 33, would it be to actually look into cord blood storage? And is it like something that you could purchase storage ahead of time? Is that something that can be done, or no?
no, and we don't do it ahead of time. We tend to change our pricing too based on what the market's doing.
Mhm.
So obviously the market's quite wacky right now.
Mhm.
But even when things go back to normal, the pricing isn't going to be totally different. We just run usually like monthly promotions, and then we run event promotions. But if and when you do get pregnant, what you would want to come directly to Chrissy and I, depending on where you're going to have your baby, and we will do special pricing for attending any events that you have attended in the past.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so it's so like, I don't know, the more people that do this cord blood banking, the more the discounts come in because of our revenue generation.
Right.
So a year from now, the price could be lower than what it is right now, So does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay, so because she asked that question, I want to piggyback off of that. I don't know if I missed it, but how soon should a mom come in during her pregnancy? Are we talking the first, second, or third trimester to get her cord blood to give it?
Well, so she can enroll anytime during her pregnancy. And then obviously the collection doesn't happen until after the child is born, or pretty much right after the child is born. But I mean, she can even go into the hospital and say, hey, I want to do this. And because she can get the kit at the hospital as long as she's in one of our areas that is covered, and it will take take kits in the hospital. And then they don't pay until after delivery anyways, because we have that unit back to our lab. We go ahead and process it, make sure everything is okay. And then that's when the patient would pay for it.
That makes sense.
Hmm?
Any other questions? Now, I know some of the people on the call, some don't have kids, some do have kids. Now, for me, I already have 2 kids, and so I'm trying to have more. Y'all all pray for me. So I can have some more kids. But does it, when the other 2 kids, since my 2 kids I never got it, do you, why, like, what are the reason for the third one? Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, do you guys have parents like that? Like, oh, well, I didn't do it for these two, I guess I'll do it for that one. What's the reason behind it usually? I mean, I guess it's dependent on.
Well, so each child is going to get a different set from mom and dad of the HLA genetic markers. So they're all going to have a slightly different, they're not going to be a total or 100% match to each other. It is possible, but it really doesn't happen unless, I mean, you'd have to have like 20 kids for that to happen. So each child is going to have their own set of these genetic markers that are going to be different. And so they're always going to be a partial match to each other, with the exception of, like in my situation, my two kids have different fathers. So them being a match is highly, highly unlikely, because they're getting, my older daughter has, you know, her father's genetic markers that she inherited from him, and then my son that I just had has from his father. So that's why each child is different. And depending on what diseases they're being treated for, they're either going to need a match or they're either going to have to use their own stem cells. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. You got it, Lit. You got it.
So I have another question kind of that spins off of that one. Would it be smarter for a mom to do prior genetic testing just to kind of know whether this will be something smart to do or not, just in case there are some moms that are kind of like, well, I don't really know, especially with not being for sure that even if they are siblings, that there would be a match in the future should the stem cells be needed. But is it smarter to go ahead and do the genetic testing, which it's probably smart to do that anyway, but what's the probability of that being able to line up with the cord blood banking?
So we actually have a program that for families that have various diseases, whether they are FDA approved diseases or they're in clinical trial, we will give the cord blood banking free for 5 years for those families that qualify. Some examples of this is say dad has leukemia or a sibling has sickle cell disease. Those families would qualify for the free cord blood banking. And because we don't want, if the family truly does need it, we don't want money to be a barrier to them getting their stem cell treatment. And so when we're talking about this pricing and, you know, the processing fees and stuff that Chrissy just went over, that also pays for this free program for our families.
Right.
So with regards to genetic testing, yes, I mean, you hope everything comes back fine, but in a situation where I have a family that comes back with something on their genetic, on their genetic panel, I usually will screen that through to our genetic counselors to see if they can get the free cord blood banking, to see if it is a viable option. I cannot give you a statistic on how often that happens, but in the case that you do your genetic testing and there is a problem, then again, you could come directly our 800 do that process. Internet says it's unstable. You guys can still hear me, right?
You're kind of in and out.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I think you're back.
I can always eat. Okay. Sorry, I just said my internet was unstable and I haven't moved, obviously. So anyways, with regards to that program, that's something you talk about. But I mean, you can kind of also look at the cord blood banking as kind of like an insurance policy. There is no situation where you ever want to have to use baby stem cells, because you're talking about, something very serious like cerebral palsy, a traumatic brain injury, various cancers and stuff like that, where it's just a horrible situation. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Okay, cool.
Any other questions?
I actually was going to ask about the second one on the frequently asked.
Oh yeah, and I can start going through
Oh,
those
yeah.
if you want. So we can start with the second one. So the delayed cord clamping, that's the one you had a question about.
Mhm.
So you can still do both. You can, typically what was recommended, the ACOG recommendations is about 30 to 60 seconds of delayed cord clamping after baby's delivered. So at that point, you still can collect cord blood because there is still blood left in the cord even after 30 to 60 seconds. And then you can collect whatever is remaining in there and still have a collection. And CBR does have kind of a checkpoint where they look for a minimum of 100 million stem cells. So if for some reason, you don't get a lot of blood after that delayed cord clamping, or for just some babies have more blood than others, it's really just dependent, varies from baby to baby, but they will look at how many stem cells there are in that collection, and if it falls below their minimum threshold, they will let you know, and they'll give you the option if you choose to continue storing it, or they'll give you an option to not continue because it falls below that threshold. In most cases, delayed cord clamping still does yield the number of cells that they are looking for. And then if you do choose to delay completely for, until the cord stops pulsing and there's absolutely no blood left in the cord, in that case, you can still have the option to just collect the cord tissue. So if there's no blood left to collect, at least you still have some stem cells for that baby to hold on to. And then I'll go back to the first one. How long can the cord blood and cord tissue samples be safely stored? So this is something where, based on studies that they've done, they do believe that it is able to be used indefinitely. I mean, it's stored at negative 196 degrees Celsius on liquid nitrogen. They've done studies looking at the cells after like 20 to 24 years, and found that they behave similarly to freshly collected cells that have never been cryopreserved. So based on the research that they've done, they don't see any kind of decrease in the quality or the ability to use these cells after cryopreservation for 20 plus years. And then third question, let's see, does the entire cord blood sample have to be used for a stem cell transplant? So this is something that is really up to the treating physician. Typically, they would want to get as many stem cells as possible. So in a lot of cases, they may use that whole sample. But it is stored in a multi-compartment bag. So there is the option to not necessarily use the entire sample. So it really depends on what you're treating and what the recommendation is by the treating physician.
All right. So as far as service guarantees, if there is a problem, we will pay out to the family, like say a problem with like our lab, a doer or something like that. We will pay out $50,000 if their cord blood unit is compromised. And the reason why we chose $50,000 is because that's usually what it costs to get a matched stem cell donation from the public bank. We've never had to pay that out though. So I was talking about this next question, the siblings being a match. Full siblings are always going to be a partial match. They're also going to be a partial match to mom and dad because obviously they're getting their genetic markers from them. But again, if you've got half siblings, aunts, uncles, that sort of thing, more than likely not right now. However, with cord tissue, during the clinical trials and research, specifically at Duke, they're finding that it can match farther down the system and even to unrelated patients. So, and then the last question let's see, I think you asked Chardonnay was that if there is a need and stem cells are either in clinical trial, preclinical trial, or FDA approved, we will help the family out with doing that 5 years of free processing and storage.
So, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
So I know you were talking about the delayed clamping. I know that I've heard of some of the Lotus Birth with, sorry, with, you know, some parents keeping the placenta attached. So would someone still be able to do that? Or it would be that the cord and the blood or the tissue would need to go right away? How would that work? Because I know with Lotus Births, everything has to be preserved in a certain way. So it's still tissue, but just how would that work? Or does that not work?
So, so typically with a Lotus Birth, you're not going to be able to get cord blood. That blood is going back into the baby. However, you can still do cord tissue. And because they're just, after everything is done, they're just going to, whoever is delivering is just going to get that 4 to 8 inch piece of the tissue. So that's what we offer to our Lotus Birth families. And because it's, you know, if they want to do it, if they want to do their Lotus Birth, the cord blood is really off the table at that point, but they can still do cord tissue.
It's always a good option too.
Yeah. Any other questions that anyone has?
All right, so here's our information. You guys, like I said, say on here, you can call, text, or email us anytime. We cover the whole area, and if you're not in the area anymore, we have several other reps that you know, you can talk to, or if you need to get a kit from when this coronavirus is over. But yeah, that's about it.
That was awesome. I feel like I know more about cord blood.
Good.
But I'm really interested in that kit, the genetic kit, personally. Like, just to see.
You can. That's the ReadyGen, because I got one when we launched it. I haven't done it yet. I'll let you know what, because it's totally new to us, because we don't sell it. But because a lot of these genetic testing that you do is like $18,000.
Girl, bye.
I know, right? And this one,
that's expensive.
I know. I did my genetic testing. They didn't bill my insurance right, and I got billed for $18,000. I said I'm not paying that.
That's wild. And so, just to be clear, in order to do the gen test, we have to do the cord blood tissue.
No, I mean, you can order the genetic test
separately.
Yeah, it's just on our website. We just launched it before, you know, the pandemic started. So, you know, a lot of our launch kind of took a back seat, I feel like.
That's
really, yeah, you can just order it on our website, and they're probably offering discounts. I mean, I'll let you know, because we're supposed to find out a little bit more about that going forward.
Okay, that's very important. You know, with what's going on, and they can answer a lot of issues. For me, I like my son. Sometimes I have issues with like what he eats, and it's some of the things that he does, like behavioral. I'm like, is this genetic? So that is, I mean, that's just me being weird and a mom. Like, what is going on? Because maybe your uncle twice removed acted like this. Just joking.
It's always good to have as much info as you can.
I know, and this is the information age. So I want to say thank you, Whit and Chrissy, for coming on and educating us on the webinar. We will be sharing this on our social media so other people can come in and learn more about cord blood registry, because this is important. And I just feel like you guys are an awesome resource taking care of the East Coast.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, reach out anytime with questions or anything else we can help you with.
And so thank you. And everyone that came, thank you for being here and learning more about cord blood registry. And if you have any questions, you can email us at info@themoonbaby.show. If you still wanted to talk to Whit and Christian, hopefully you got their info. If not, I can give it to you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, y'all are still here. Why are y'all still here?
Well, it's because,